Sarah had always prided herself on being a good mother. She was the type of woman who would stay up late, sewing her daughter Emma's costumes for school plays, or spending weekends at the park, pushing her on the swings until her laughter filled the air. Yet beneath her cheerful exterior, a quiet anxiety gnawed at her. Balancing work and motherhood was a constant struggle, and as Emma entered her teenage years, Sarah felt a distance growing between them, a chasm filled with unspoken words and hidden feelings. Before we dive deeper into Sarah and Emma's journey, I want to invite you to subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us and is the key to sharing more heartfelt stories like this one with even more people. So please, take a moment to subscribe now. One chilly afternoon, Sarah found herself in the middle of a cleaning frenzy, determined to reclaim some semblance of order in their cozy, cluttered home. As she dusted and organized, she noticed a corner of something peeking out from under Emma's bed. Intrigued, she bent down and pulled out a small, locked box. It was an unassuming thing, but the way it was tucked away suggested it held something important, something Emma didn't want anyone to see. With a sense of curiosity pricking at her, Sarah examined the box. It was painted a soft lavender, adorned with delicate flowers, but the lock on it was old and rusted. For a moment, she hesitated, the maternal instinct to respect her daughter's privacy clashing with the urge to know what secrets lay hidden inside. After a brief internal struggle, she decided to take it to her room, hoping she could find a way to unlock the mystery of her daughter's hidden world. As she sat on her bed, Sarah rummaged through her drawers for an old keychain that had seen better days, one with a small assortment of keys that she had collected over the years. After several attempts that yielded only frustration, she finally found a key that seemed to fit. With trembling hands, Sarah inserted it into the lock and turned. The box clicked open, and her heart raced with anticipation. What she found inside shattered her heart. Stacks of neatly folded letters lay crammed within the box, their edges slightly worn, as if they had been handled many times before. Each letter bore Emma's name, written in her own careful handwriting. As Sarah unfolded the first note, she was struck by the raw emotion spilling from the pages. Emma had poured her heart into these letters, each one a reflection of her inner turmoil, a poignant testament to a struggle that had been hidden from her mother's view. As Sarah read on, she felt herself being pulled into Emma's world, one filled with self-hate, loneliness, and an aching desire for acceptance. The words were like daggers, piercing through Sarah's heart as she realized the depth of her daughter's pain. Emma had written about feeling invisible, about being lost in the noise of high school life, and the suffocating weight of expectations. Each letter was a cry for help wrapped in poetic prose, and Sarah felt a desperate urge to reach out to her daughter, to bridge the growing gap between them. But the more she read, the more she understood that there was a darker theme woven through Emma's words. A recent event at school had left Emma feeling abandoned, ostracized by her peers in a way that Sarah had been completely unaware of. The letters detailed vivid accounts of isolation and heartache, moments that made Sarah's heart ache with a profound sense of helplessness. She had always believed that she was in tune with Emma's feelings, but this revelation shattered her perception of their relationship. With each letter, Sarah's determination grew. She knew she had to confront this issue head-on, to reach out to her daughter before it was too late. The thought of Emma's suffering in silence tore at her insides, igniting a fierce protectiveness that compelled her to act. It was clear that their relationship needed mending, and the first step was to ensure Emma felt loved and supported, no matter the trials she faced. Sarah took a deep breath, her mind racing with thoughts of how to approach her daughter. Should she confront Emma directly about the letters, or would that only push her further away? She decided to take a gentler approach, weaving her newfound understanding into their daily interactions. She would create a safe space where Emma felt comfortable enough to share her feelings, no matter how heavy they might be. As days turned into weeks, Sarah made a conscious effort to be more present in Emma's life. She invited her to cook dinner together, encouraging lighthearted conversation about everything and nothing. She turned off her phone during their chats, giving Emma her full attention, and slowly, she began to see glimpses of the daughter she once knew, the girl who laughed easily and shared her dreams without fear. Yet, even in these moments of connection, Sarah could sense a lingering shadow. Emma still seemed guarded, her smile sometimes reaching her eyes and other times falling short. It was as if a part of her was still trapped within the confines of that locked box, afraid to expose herself fully. Determined to break through that barrier, Sarah decided to share some of her own struggles with Emma. She opened up about her own insecurities, her fears of failing as a mother, her worries about finances, and the loneliness that sometimes crept in when she least expected it. By revealing her vulnerabilities, she hoped to encourage Emma to do the same, to let down her walls and let her mother in. One night, as they sat together on the couch, Sarah shared a particularly difficult chapter from her own past. How she had once felt lost, just like Emma. She spoke of the feelings of inadequacy that had haunted her during her teenage years and how, despite everything, she had found a way to rise above it. Emma listened intently. The silence between them felt charged with unspoken words. And for a moment, Sarah held her breath, hoping that her daughter would take the leap and share her own struggles. It was a delicate dance, one that required trust and courage. But in that moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps they were beginning to build a bridge, one that could lead them back to each other. And so, with a heart full of determination, Sarah continued her journey to reach Emma, to help her find her way back to herself, and to ensure that no matter how dark the path ahead seemed, they would walk it together. The locked box under Emma's bed had opened a door to understanding, and Sarah was ready to step through it, hand in hand with her daughter. As the weeks rolled by, Sarah made it a point to foster more open dialogue between her and Emma. She initiated conversations about school, friends, and even the little things that might seem mundane but held great significance. The latest episode of Emma's favorite show, the new book she was reading, or the art project she was working on. Each time they spoke, Sarah could sense the armor around Emma starting to crack, though it was still a long way from being completely dismantled. One evening, after a particularly engaging dinner where they had bantered playfully about their favorite meals, Sarah decided to take a leap of faith. She'd been thinking about how to approach the letters without directly mentioning them, hoping instead to create an atmosphere of trust where Emma felt safe enough to open up on her own. That night, she chose to share a story from her own childhood, a tale that was both painful and liberating. "Emma," Sarah began, her voice soft yet steady, "I want to tell you something about my teenage years. It wasn't easy for me either. I remember feeling like I didn't fit in, like I was always on the outside looking in." She paused, gauging Emma's reaction. The girl looked up from her plate, curiosity flickering in her eyes. "There was a time when I felt so alone that I started writing letters to myself, just like you do. They helped me process my thoughts and feelings. Sometimes I felt like I was shouting into the void, hoping someone would hear me." Emma's brow furrowed slightly, and Sarah noticed a fleeting look of recognition cross her face. It was a small moment, but it filled Sarah with hope. "I want you to know that it's okay to feel lost sometimes. You're not alone in this. I'm here for you, and I want to understand what you're going through." For a heartbeat, the room was filled with a tense silence, and Sarah felt her heart race. Would Emma respond? Or would she retreat further into herself? She held her breath as she watched Emma's expression shift, the guard slowly lowering. I didn't think you'd understand," Emma finally mumbled, her eyes suddenly glistening with unshed tears. "Try me," Sarah replied gently, encouragingly, leaning forward, her heart aching for her daughter. To her surprise, Emma took a deep, shuddering breath and began to speak. "Sometimes I feel like I'm invisible at school, like I'm just there. And then there was that thing with Lily." The name hung in the air like a storm cloud, and Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "What happened with Lily?" she asked, her heart heavy with concern, yet filled with gratitude that Emma was finally beginning to open up. Emma hesitated, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. "She was my best friend, and then she just stopped talking to me. It felt like one day she was there, and the next she just vanished. Everyone else seemed to just move on. It was like I didn't matter anymore." Sarah's heart broke a little more with each word. She wanted to reach out, to comfort Emma, but she held back, allowing her daughter to unveil the depths of her pain. I tried to talk to her, but it was like she didn't even see me. And then I started feeling like I wasn't worth anyone's time. Like maybe I was just not good enough, Emma confessed, her voice cracking as she spoke. The vulnerability in Emma's words shattered the walls Sarah had felt between them. Emma, you are so much more than you realize, she said, her voice thick with emotion. You are kind, talented, and loved. I wish I had known how much you were hurting. I want to help you through this. As the conversation unfolded, Sarah felt the burden of her daughter's pain resting heavily on her heart. She listened intently as Emma spoke of her loneliness, the whispers in the hallways, and the aching desire for connection that had begun to consume her. Each confession was like a thread woven into the fabric of their relationship, slowly creating a tapestry of understanding and love. Tears streamed down Emma's cheeks, and Sarah couldn't hold back her own emotions any longer. She reached out, gently pulling Emma into a warm embrace, letting the tears flow freely between them. I'm so sorry you felt this way. I wish I could have been there for you sooner, Sarah murmured, holding her daughter tightly. I didn't want to worry you, Emma said, her voice muffled against Sarah's shoulder. I thought I could handle it on my own. You don't have to handle it alone, Sarah replied softly, pulling back slightly to meet Emma's tear-streaked face. I'm here for you always. You can talk to me about anything, no matter how big or small. In that moment, something shifted in the air, a palpable sense of relief that filled the space between them. It was as if a dam had broken, allowing all the pent-up emotions to flood forth. Sarah knew they had taken a significant step towards healing, and while the road ahead would not be easy, it was one they would walk together. The following days were filled with both challenges and triumphs. Emma began to express herself more freely, her laughter echoing through the house once again. They spent evenings watching movies together, and Sarah made a point to ask about Emma's day more often, seeking to understand the nuances of her world. Still, there were moments when Emma would retreat into silence, the shadows of her earlier struggles creeping back into view. Sarah reminded herself that healing was a journey, not a destination. It would take time, and they would face setbacks, but each moment of connection felt like a victory in its own right. One rainy afternoon, as they sat together on the porch, watching the droplets dance down the window, Sarah decided to broach the subject of the letters. I found something in your room a while back, she started cautiously. And while I didn't want to invade your privacy, I want you to know that I'm here if you ever want to talk about it. Emma's gaze fell to her lap, and Sarah felt her heart drop. I didn't mean for you to find them, Emma whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of the rain. You don't have to be ashamed of them, Sarah said gently, reaching out to touch Emma's hand. Those letters are a part of you, your feelings, your struggles. They're valid, and I want to help you work through them. Emma looked up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I thought if I could just write it all out, it would help, but it just felt like I was screaming into the void, she confessed, her voice trembling with vulnerability. Sometimes, just sharing that scream makes all the difference, Sarah replied, her heart swelling with empathy. You're not alone in this, Emma. I want to be here for you in whatever way you need. As the rain continued to fall, they sat in silence, the weight of their shared understanding wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. Sarah could see the flicker of hope in Emma's eyes, a glimmer of the girl she had once known. The journey ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time, Sarah felt like they were walking it together side by side. If this story is touching your heart, make sure to comment from where you are hearing this amazing story. As the weeks turned into months, the bond between mother and daughter grew stronger. Emma found the courage to face her peers at school, and while it wasn't a perfect transformation, Sarah could see her daughter beginning to blossom. Emma joined a club at school, a painting class, and even signed up for a poetry workshop, activities that reignited her passion for creativity and expression. Sarah felt a surge of pride wash over her as she witnessed Emma stepping out of her comfort zone. The letters, once a source of pain, became a catalyst for their healing. They often sat together in the evenings, Emma sharing her latest poems or artwork, and Sarah encouraging her with every word of praise. One evening, As they flipped through a stack of Emma's sketches, Sarah felt a rush of gratitude. "I'm so proud of you, Emma. You're incredibly talented," she said, her voice filled with warmth. Emma smiled shyly, the corners of her mouth curving upward. "Thanks, Mom. It feels good to share my art." Sarah nodded, her heart swelling with hope for the future. "And remember, you can always share your feelings with me. No matter what happens, I want to be the person you turn to." Emma's gaze softened, and with a newfound confidence, she replied, "I will, Mom. I promise." As they sat together, surrounded by art and laughter, Sarah felt the weight of the past lifting. The locked box under Emma's bed had opened more than just a collection of letters. It had opened a doorway to understanding and connection, paving the way for a brighter future. Together, they were navigating the complexities of life, and the love they shared became the beacon that would guide them through the darkest nights. And so, hand in hand, mother and daughter embraced their journey of healing, ready to face whatever came next with resilience, love, and hope. One sunny afternoon, as the golden rays filtered through the trees, Sarah invited Emma to join her on a walk to the nearby park. They strolled side by side, the laughter of children and the chirping of birds creating a cheerful backdrop. It felt like a new beginning, one filled with promise and the warmth of their rekindled bond. As they settled onto a bench, Sarah glanced at Emma, who was sketching in her notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration. "What are you working on?" she asked, genuinely curious. Emma looked up, a spark of excitement in her eyes. "It's a scene from the park. I want to capture how peaceful it feels here." She paused, biting her lip as if contemplating her next words. "I've been thinking about sharing my art at the school exhibition next month. What do you think?" A swell of pride filled Sarah's heart. "I think that sounds amazing. You should absolutely share your talent with everyone. You have so much to offer, Emma." Emma's cheeks flushed a soft pink as she smiled, the confidence radiating from her like sunlight. "Thanks, Mom. It feels nice to think about it." The conversation turned to other topics: school, friends, and Emma's aspirations. With each exchange, the walls that had once stood between them felt more like distant memories. They were creating new moments, filling the gaps with laughter and shared experiences. Yet, even with the progress they had made, a part of Sarah knew they still had work to do. The journey of healing and rebuilding trust wasn't linear, and there would be bumps along the way. But she was determined to be there for Emma every step of the way, offering unwavering support. One evening, after dinner, Emma approached Sarah with a serious expression, the weight of something unsaid hanging in the air. "Mom, can we talk?" "Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind?" Sarah replied, her heart racing slightly at the seriousness in Emma's tone. "I've been thinking about everything that happened last year, and the letters," Emma began, her voice shaky. "I don't want to go back to feeling that way. I want to keep moving forward, but I'm still scared." "Fear is a part of life, Emma," Sarah said gently, her heart aching for her daughter. "It's okay to feel scared, but remember, you don't have to face it alone. We can work through it together." Emma nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Sometimes I feel like I'll never be enough, like I'll always be that girl who was left behind. I don't want to feel that way anymore." "Emma, you are enough. You always have been," Sarah reassured her, reaching out to hold her daughter's hands. "Every day is a new chance. You are brave for facing your fears, and I'm here to help you find your strength." In that moment, Sarah realized that their journey was not just about healing from the past. It was about building a future filled with love, resilience, and hope. Emma's fears were valid, but together, they could create a new narrative, one where Emma felt valued, cherished, and empowered. As the weeks went by, Emma prepared for her exhibition, pouring her heart and soul into her artwork. Sarah stood by her side, encouraging her every step of the way. On the day of the event, they arrived at the school, the air buzzing with excitement. Emma's pieces adorned the walls, each telling a story of her journey, a journey of pain, healing, and newfound strength. When it was time for Emma to present her work, Sarah felt her heart swell with pride. As Emma spoke about her art, she exuded a confidence that had once seemed elusive. The audience listened intently, captivated by her words and the beauty of her creations. After the presentation, students and parents alike approached Emma to express their admiration. Sarah watched as Emma beamed, her smile reflecting the light of self-acceptance that had begun to shine from within. Later that evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Emma turned to Sarah, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. "Thank you for believing in me, Mom. I couldn't have done this without you." "I'll always believe in you, Emma," Sarah replied, her heart full. "You are stronger than you know, and I'm so proud of the person you're becoming." In that moment, the weight of the past seemed to lift, replaced by a sense of hope and possibility. They had faced the darkness together and emerged into the light, their bond forged anew by the trials they had overcome. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Sarah and Emma sat in comfortable silence, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, united in love, resilience, and the promise of tomorrow.